Welcome to the Scariest Things podcast, your gateway to the trends and tropes of the horror genre. Episode 50.
50.
L. And this is the big one. This is the 1 year anniversary. This is actually, we could call it season 2, but I don't think we're going to get into chasing those numbers.
No.
Just too many, too much cataloging.
This is 1 year and a month.
1 year and a month since we started recording this.
Because we
this
started
podcast.
in December of 17.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
But we didn't actually. Nobody listened to it until
I'm
we
not
figured
even
out
sure
how to.
I listened to it.
I think our first 3 episodes had maybe 10 or 12 listeners. But now
those are still available.
Yes,
on YouTube.
And you can
if you want to truck on over to YouTube and listen to those.
Yeah, and with pictures of Mike's little boy in his Halloween costume. That is it's kind of precious and at the time
as low rent as it gets.
Yeah. So anyhow, we have successfully managed to survive 1 year of podcasting, Mr.
Yes.
Campbell.
And we are joined tonight.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think maybe introductions in general.
This is the 503 joining up with the 504.
Right.
In New Orleans.
So Eric Lee and Mike Campbell calling in from Portland, Oregon.
From the 503. And Liz.
Hey, y'all.
From the 504.
From 504. Coming from New Orleans.
Who dat? Go Saints.
Saints.
They managed to
We
pull off.
got 2 more games to win.
With Old Man Breeze.
That's right.
But this ain't a football podcast. We could have done that. We might have to expand our library here of things we're doing. But we're talking horror movies.
Indeed.
And we're talking retrospective about what a great time we've had doing this. I mean, if we were having a shitty time, we probably would have packed up our bags and stopped at episode 7. But things have gone really well, and I think a lot of that is to all of our listeners and all of the readers of our website. So wanted to first off say thank you to everybody.
Yes. Big thanks.
It's
big thanks.
It's been a huge achievement, and I don't think when we started doing this, I kind of expected some of our close friends and maybe. My mom doesn't even listen. I think Mike's mom listens. Though.
Come on, Mom.
Yeah.
No, we would not have stopped at episode 7 because episode 7 was monster movies.
Oh yeah,
and that was good. That was actually a good episode.
Yeah,
monster movies was tight.
Yeah, monster movies was good. Episode. And actually, if you guys want to go back for some real entertainment, listen to episode 3, which I think is. Horror or Not, which is
Horror or Not, yes. And weirdly, with the Horror or Not, no, that was episode 4 was Horror or Not. No, sorry, episode 4 was non-movie horror properties that we want to see as horror movies.
And actually, you know what's going to come up next week?
Black Hole. No. Yes.
Well, not Black Hole yet, but
Eric's pick for property he wanted to see, The Passage.
Thank you, Liz.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So it's Vampire Apocalypse coming up on Fox Television, I think on the 14th.
Yes, you told Hollywood and they listened.
It's like, God damn it. Just
and
listen
to
me. I know what I'm talking about.
I said, Hollywood, get after that Charles Burns property.
Black Hole.
Do Black Hole.
That's also coming.
And I was like, well, that'll never happen because that's the weirdest freak out.
Let's talk about venereal disease as a horror movie. I'm sure that'll have a huge audience.
And shebang, it's happening.
Thank you, Mike Campbell.
So Hollywood listens.
Well,
people.
and I think
Hollywood listens.
It would be only appropriate since we have Liz on the other line, since you are our book expert.
Oh man, there's so many I want.
What's one that you suspect has movie written all over it?
I will tell you, I have heard rumor that they are going to do Pen Pal, which was my first review for the website. And
that's right.
One of my all-time favorite horror books, and it would be amazing. But one of my top books of the year, also reviewed on the website, is Paul Tremblay's Cabin at the End of the World.
Oh, yeah.
And the whole time I was reading it, it needs to be on the screen. It could be a movie. because it's not really long enough to do a series, but man, it could almost be like a play. That's how I was kind of picturing it. It's super tight. It's really set in one location, and man, I would love to see it on the screen, and I'm sure he has already optioned it. I can't imagine with all the buzz it's gotten and how much people have loved it that it's not, because it would be a fantastic horror movie.
Do you ever think there's a book that should not be made into a movie? Like stop at the book and don't go any further?
Man, they've already done it. They've already done it. Like so many things.
Peter Benchley's Jaws.
Oh, no. That one. I think that's probably going to be a movie better than the book. I don't know. I've never read the book.
So something else that our listeners may have picked up on is we have new equipment.
Oh, yes.
So
this equipment comes courtesy of the Xenix XENYX, the UFX 1204 12 input 4 bus mixer.
It is a
behemoth.
It takes up the lion's share of the table.
And if you go over to the scariestthings.com website, you will see the Xenix UFX 1204 because it is a beast.
We're pretty stoked because I think I kind of got sick and tired of getting comments of your podcast sounds like shit, and it's like I'm sorry. We're when we actually
did you get those from Ernie or
Mike's
and our
expert
ace researcher?
Yeah, he's been bagging on the old man's podcast. That's pathetic.
That is sad.
Oh,
that is sad.
boy.
No, they
You gotta learn that.
Hopefully everyone enjoys the new and radically improved audio. We went from as low tech goes for episodes 1 to 49, and we have significantly stepped it up. In fact, I would think maybe we even go back and revisit a couple of these topics that we've touched on in the last year.
Yeah.
Just give them
a little bit more polish.
Yes, give them a little bit more polish. Give them their day in the sun because they absolutely deserve it. And some of the episodes, and we'll apologize here and now, may not have been the best and most clear, and there might have been some pops and some skips along the way.
So one of the big things that we have done just recently is we've started a Patreon account.
Yes,
and this campaign is
to pay for the Xenix UFX 1204. We need a little help.
We'll spare you the NPR Begathon, but just to let you know that if you wanted to get some cool added benefits to what you can get from the Scariest Things, we're taking requests now.
Heck
so, if you wanted to request a specific movie, we can write a blog for you, a post about that. We can also do a recording, a dedicated podcast episode. Mike's looking at me in astonishment. We talked about that, Mike.
You can be on the podcast.
Yeah, you can
read the intro to the podcast. You can do the outro to the podcast. You can be a voting member of the Scariest Things community.
Yeah,
you can vote on any myriad of things that we have upcoming in 2019.
We're going to have raffles.
Tons of things you can be a part of,
and you get this fun bonus. You get your name shouted out. So here we go with the names of our first patrons.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
So Ian Parker.
What up, Ian Parker?
Ian Parker, formerly of Channel 2 News Intrepid reporter. One of my old buddies who's a trivia junkie. Thank you so much, Ian.
Thank you, Ian.
Thanks, Ian.
I hope you enjoy the dulcet tones coming from the UFX 1204 mixing board.
Your $15 goes a long way. Zach Pennell, who's a fellow who looks kind of like Superman and works with me at my office at TVA, and he's one of those folks who breaking him in as a horror movie fan.
Heck yeah!
So this is the gateway thing.
Get him early.
Yep,
get him early.
Zach, thank you for joining us. We have Sharon Yeblon.
Yay! Thank
Yay,
you, Sharon.
Yay!
She is one of the most active of our fans who loves to communicate with us and share her thoughts on all things horror. And she probably knows more than the three of us who are currently talking.
Definitely.
She might very well, yes.
Sharon actually has almost an identical taste in movies to Mike.
That's right. We discovered that in the context of the top 100 horror films of all time. Sharon and I matched up quite well. So Sharon gets 2 shout-outs.
Sharon.
Shout out 1, shout out 2.
We have the old college buddy, Chris Ralph.
Good job, Chris.
Who
Thanks,
is
Chris.
the
Thanks.
cantanker or the
Thanks,
cinema
Moneybags.
snob.
Thanks, Moneybags.
Your $2.50 goes a long ways. And that's $2.50. Sarah Barber, who another old friend of ours, who is she said, I don't like horror movies, but I love what you guys do. And so it's like, you know what? We'll let you just get your toes wet, honey. We'll let you in with the stuff like Anna and the Apocalypse and
Yes.
and things like that. Things that are
Omega Man.
yeah.
Start with Omega Man.
And then you can go to Serbian Tale.
Yeah. No, don't.
Oh, no.
No.
Never.
Never.
And the man who likes shout outs more than anybody else, you know who this is, Mike.
Matt Howell.
Yes.
Matt Howell, who, if you haven't seen it already, either go to our Facebook site, Scariest Things, the Scariest Things podcast Facebook site, or go over to the website, scariestthings.com, 1T, and you can see some of Matt's fine work. He did sort of a video header for us on both the Facebook site as well as, and I think I hustled that out on over to Instagram too, so you can see it on Instagram. It's a cool little intro, and from a very talented young man who hopefully we'll have on the podcast at some point in the near future.
We're hoping so, probably
Yeah.
for cults, right?
Yes, cults or who knows.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing is that both Matt and Mike have a bit of free time on their hands.
Yes, we do, and you might be seeing a scariestthings.com film coming out, a short film potentially.
Yes.
Potentially.
Oh, awesome.
Don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath. We'll see. We'll see.
Is it a titled feature yet?
We have a working title.
Okay.
Working title is The Docent.
Okay. So we'll
That's
be.
I mean, like docent, like that is like the scariest single word in the English language.
Docent?
The docent.
Docent.
The docent.
Maybe you need to throw the effects mix on there and do the devil voice drop in there to make it effect. So anyhow, so that's that. Those are our
Shout-outs.
patrons.
Our patrons. Our Patreon shout outs.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
I think that's a great way sort of to lead into our Fearsome Foursome.
Yeah. Let's get to it.
And so 1 year into the bag.
We have learned a lot.
Yes.
Technologically, sociologically.
Right. I learned a lot about ourselves. Cinematographically.
Yes.
Something like that. We haven't learned quite to pronunciate well
Yes.
on the podcast
Yes.
yet.
Although I do feel like I have become, I feel like, and I know we're going to get there at some point, and this may not be my takeaway per se, but I feel like I've become a cinephile in the last year.
Yeah. You have to up your expectations and
You really do have to up your game. I mean, you really have to consume significantly more because, for example, if we're covering a topic like as we did in, I don't know, episode 6, I think it was, where we talked about ghosts. You can't just like watch 4 ghost movies and go, okay, those are my 4 ghost movies. You got to watch like 10 ghost movies and go, okay, those are my 4 ghost movies. So you got to consume a lot to get to the point where we can come up with a list that's reasonable and that's accessible for everyone, because that's the whole point of this podcast is like sort of cutting through all the detritus to get you exactly what you need to be watching, so you don't have to watch 10, 12, 15 films.
we'll cut the chaff out for you.
We cut the chaff.
Yeah.
The chaff, the detritus, it's all gone.
And truth be told, I think for the most part, we tend to avoid movies that look like they've got disaster written all over it.
Mostly.
We did
Yes.
go see The Nun for you, and we can report back that you probably don't need to see The Nun.
No.
Wasn't there another film that you just picked up from Movie Madness that is another one that should be avoided? Have you plugged it into the DVD yet?
No.
You know what I'm talking about.
Slender Man?
Yeah.
No, I got that at the library.
Oh, okay. Well,
Liz, did you see Slender Man, by the way?
I did not, and after reading your review of The Nun, I did not go see that either. I was gonna go, but no, you saved me from that one.
So I think it certainly. I've watched so many more horror movies, and the funny thing is, we got into this game thinking we know a lot about horror movies, and we don't.
It turns out we were. As I think we have self-identified in the last year, charlatans.
Right. I think
hucksters.
If you want
fakes, frauds, layabouts,
and if you want the real brains, Jeff Dean is the guy who is impossible to stump on any horror matter. That's my go-to guy. It's like, hey, there's a movie about, and you just sort of put that out there, and he goes, oh, that's this movie. It's like, see, there's that. But you know what? We amuse the
movie
folks.
That movie is called Carrie.
Oh,
that Eric still hasn't seen. I bought Eric a copy of Carrie 7 months ago. Still hasn't watched it.
Oh,
2019
4 months
resolution,
ago, but
Eric.
still.
You can do that one. 2019 resolution.
Bought you a copy.
I did watch The Birds.
Okay.
I did
That's
that much
step,
for you.
step in the right direction.
And Mike. So I have to watch some of the old 70s classics. Mike has to catch up with the new stuff. Mike finally did see A Quiet Place.
Quiet Place, very good.
Yes,
Very good. Rock solid. All right, lead us in.
So,
Let's
I
get
think
going.
my biggest takeaway is how successful this thing's been.
Oh yeah,
I think
absolutely.
We now have 1 year of the existence of the website.
Right.
151,000 views.
Ooh, awesome.
101 individual viewers.
Right.
So it's not, it's not Sharon checking in 150,000 times. We actually have a lot of fans, and from all over the world. I think that is
South Africa.
Yes, all of a sudden we had a big push from South Africa this week. I don't know what happened.
South Africa, India.
Yeah, India, by the way, folks.
Yemen.
we have one view from Yemen.
Yeah,
but that's still pretty good for it being Yemen.
One is one.
But I think we've got 38,000 views from India, and we had some dubious thoughts about when we check on our Facebook site, we go, oh, those are robo clicks.
Right.
But a lot of those clicks are actually making it all the way through, and I think through a review of the movie Tumbad, which if you are in India, you should watch it. It is an awesome, awesome horror movie. If you're in the United States, good luck trying to find it. It was up for a hot second on Amazon before they pulled it.
Right.
I'm trying to push Gwen and Brian Callahan to see if they can get Tumbad in on their for the Portland Horror Film Festival. I think that'd be a great addition if they can figure it out, because it ain't playing in the it's been playing at the festivals, but you can't get it streaming unless you're in Asia.
So start digging around. Start digging around in the deeper, darker corners of the internet to find Tumbad.
But that was sort of the test balloon to see are these robo clicks or are they real fans? Instantaneously, it was like the most traffic for in a 2 or 3 day stretch.
Right.
Were people commenting on the Tumbad review? And
right.
I was like,
because prior to that, most of our audience outside of the United States was in the UK.
Yeah,
and
we still have,
and it was mostly in Ireland, I think.
No, I think it's actually, I think our number 3 city, the number 1 city that we have for views is Ladakh,
right?
India,
right.
Number 2, I think, is Portland.
No, it's Los Angeles.
Oh, Los Angeles now. Okay.
Yeah, Los Angeles.
Wow. Okay, so it's
coming on strong.
Yeah, London isn't far behind though. So this is
all 11 million people in Los Angeles are checking in on the podcast.
That's because it's the industry, right? They need to hear from the source about what's really good, and that's
they need to know from Liz what books to produce.
Yep.
What books to option. They need to know.
So, anyhow, I never in my wildest dreams had I imagined this would happen. And I think some of this, granted, I think we've had to do the dubious pay-per-click Facebook pushing to get it out to everybody, but it seems to have worked. And I think now we're in a healthy spot where the site is generating its own interest and. Remarkably, we are now finally on the first page of Google. If you select the scariest things, if you type that out, it used to be you'd have to go 6 pages deep before we'd even show up.
Right.
It was ridiculous. And granted, it is still pretty much like, someone opening up their refrigerator and looking what's inside, and it's like the scariest thing I saw in my fridge, which is kind of disappointing. To be honest, I think we've got to push those YouTubers aside. So, folks, if you got some spare time on your hands, just start clicking the scariest things over and over and over again to our website, because we got to pass, kid open the fridge for a bowl of old porridge. that should not be
our kids
Google's number one.
Are kids really eating porridge?
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a bunch of Russian kids.
I don't think you can actually buy porridge.
Okay, so let's say, but I'm, that's
it is amazing that we are finally getting those kind of numbers and that people are like actually that we are being discovered.
Yes.
Like organically and otherwise. I think we're up to several thousand
Instagram hits,
followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
A lot of folks are interacting with the posts. You can get a lot of information off of Instagram. We try to spread that love out onto Instagram, out onto Facebook, out onto the website, and so it's kind of available everywhere. But
everywhere except if it's not effective on Twitter, because I have absolutely no Twitter game.
Don't follow us on Twitter.
Right. Well, what I might suggest is if there is a Twitter expert out there who wants to be part of the team, all I need to do is be a Patreon contributor. Hey, welcome to the team, and now you can be our Twitter handler. That is one thing. Maybe it's the old man in me that's like I've grown paranoid about Twitter, where I should probably actually be paranoid about Facebook. But it's an effective tool.
Right.
So that's my first take. Liz, what's your first take?
I'm going to get all warm and fuzzy and talk about all the new friends I have made in the horror arena, including the two guys on this podcast, and being able to, connect with people on Facebook and Instagram and get comments saying, like, oh, nice review or this. That is pretty awesome, especially for, I am also a charlatan. I am trying to write book reviews of people who have actually written an entire book, and I'm like suffering over 4 paragraphs. So it's something hard to do and out of my comfort zone. So having people give positive feedback has been awesome, and meeting people and, actually making friends and having in real life friends from this is pretty cool. I'm really enjoying it.
Liz, had you done any writing before?
No, I actually avoided it in college.
But you love reading.
College, out of school, and I was like, I'm done. I don't have to ever write anything again. So, but yeah, I do love reading, and I would do occasional little things on just like Goodreads, so I could remember what I wrote. But this is I read.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But this has been totally awesome, totally unexpected, and maybe a little bit of personal growth going on here and making, putting myself out there. So
2019 is all about personal growth.
Yeah,
it is.
Unless
you don't like what I'm doing, in which case, please don't comment.
So far, we haven't gotten the torrents of trolls and hate mail yet. You've got to, I think what you need to do though, Liz, is you've got to up your hate game and really bag on something so that somebody comes on hot and just goes, "You're full of shit."
No, I don't.
And I'd be like, but you wrote a book, so you're right.
I don't recall who it was, but somebody when we were, it was one of the most recent posts on Facebook. Somebody commented about the fact that we actually gave Rob Zombie a pinch of love. And the guy was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you guys are saying something nice about Rob Zombie."
and then I sort of had to throw some caveats on how nice I was willing to be.
Devil's Rejects, he's going to get, I like that one. I'm not going to talk about the other Rob Zombie movies.
Yes. No, I think Devil's Rejects is tight.
Well,
I think it's solid.
It was enough for Mike to say that he's looking forward to his new movie coming up.
3 from Hell.
So,
3 from Hell.
Mike, what have you got? What's your first takeaway?
Well, mine is not terribly dissimilar from what Liz was just talking about. Obviously, The Friends, which is always a good thing. But the thing was the thing that I kind of, because I honestly, when we started this whole thing, I thought what we were going to be doing really was just posting a list, sort of a completely non-edited, non-contextualized list of the films that we think you should see within these genres, and then that was going to be it, and we were just going to call it good, and that list would be attached to the podcast download, and then we would be done with it. But very early on, Eric started. He had reviewed a couple films. I think it was early. I think it was probably December, January last year, and we both quickly decided that this was part of the process, is the writing process. And so I sat down and I think the first one I did, God, I'm gonna not even remember. I think it might have been the James Franco bank heist movie.
Oh, Vault or something.
Vault.
Oh God. I think you did. You did an old movie first.
No,
let me take a look at this.
I didn't. Well, anyway, but going back to episode 45, where we talked about our favorite things that we wrote last year, and just the sheer volume of reviews that we did. And I've looked around, I've poked around on IMDb in terms of all the other critic reviews, and I poked around on a number of other different sites, and I think we match up pound for pound with the amount of content. In fact, if you look at, and I don't want to disparage other sites, but if you look at a lot of other similar type sites, their reviews are much less involved, and they're much shorter, and they don't give you necessarily a solid summary of the film. Whereas I think we've really strived to give you sort of that summary without spoilers.
Exactly.
Although in some cases we do give a spoiler here and there, but we also give you we help you kind of understand how this fits into the horror genre and how this maybe fits even into a subgenre. And so, I too, like Liz, have never been somebody that's really spent a lot of time. I mean, I do write for work, but I've never really spent a lot of time sort of writing creatively. And it was really nice to be able to sit down and use those creative juices to actually pound out a review. And as Eric and I talked about, it's not necessarily a simple process, because you got to watch the movie, and so you're into it for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then you got to sit down and write it, which you're usually into it for about an hour or so of writing, because we're I think most of our reviews are in the probably 500 to 700 word range.
I tend to run a little long, but
you tend to run a little long. No shame in that game. And then you got to post it, obviously, and that takes an hour. So like to watch a film, to do the review, you're into it for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Potentially 3 hours, which is great. I mean, there's no problem in it, but I've really enjoyed it just because it's a creative outlet, and it's interesting to look at a film through a different set of eyes.
Yeah.
And I will say this. Before I do a review, before I sit down and pen a review, and I don't think I talked about this when we did episode 45, when I sit down and pen a review, I don't go and read any other reviews. I just do it like straight off the top, freestyle.
Yeah. Well, that's the purest way to get an honest and a I think the thing is when I do that, and I'll admit that sometimes I need to use a little bit of IMDb help to get some information about cast and crew
No,
and that kind of stuff.
I'll look at I'll do some. I'll do a little bit of research to figure out like who the actor was, who the actress was, who the writer was, et cetera, et cetera.
But every now and then I'll go to like Variety and see what it's like after I've posted. I was like, well, what did they say? And I was like, that's an interesting take. Or it's like, no, they're full of shit. I'm right. They're wrong.
Who cares? Who cares what Variety says?
That's the thing is that the horror community and all that, finding the different voices, and stylistically, you all of a sudden you start realizing what some journalists like the mainstream non-horror fans, what their takes are on films and what our ratings are different. And I think it's our job to help boost some of these small, particularly the independent little horror films,
right,
where it's for us. It's not for
right.
It's not
it's
for the
definitely
big,
not for everybody.
As opposed to maybe A Quiet Place is for everybody.
Sure,
but something like
maybe Framed.
Framed. Yeah, great example. That's a really well executed, really bloody movie that would probably send your average film goer out the exits in fear and disgust.
Terrifier.
Yeah.
Terrifier.
No, Terrifier is not a good movie, according to you.
No.
Also one that I've skipped because of your review.
But not a gateway film. All right, so what do we got next on the Fearsome Foursome list?
Okay, so my number 2.
Thoughts, observations.
Festivals are awesome.
Oh my God, are they ever?
And I keep. I think I might have started this process a few years earlier had I actually, gone to, say, the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival, which is in here in our town, which apparently Liz has been showing up to for years, and we didn't even know it because we didn't know her. But actually having met Gwen and Brian, who put on that production, and becoming friends with them, you realize how much they love the genre.
Oh yeah,
and
my gosh,
and how these folks are giving you. They vet the quality movies out from even despite the fact that we're in this golden age, there's still a lot of crappy horror movies that get produced on the cheap.
Yeah, what was the ratio?
Yes.
What was the ratio again of numbers of films, numbers of feature length films that they have to review to get down to 4 or 5 feature length films? Wasn't it like 100?
Well, Liz, you actually did. You had to do the reviews.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You were a juror.
I do the screening for their Portland Horror Film Festival, and so this will be my 3rd year doing it because they have submissions coming in now. And I know personally, I probably watched 8 or 9 feature films, and 2 of them got played.
Right.
But Gwen and Brian, and I'm sure all other festival producers who are, doing a kind of smaller festival. I don't know if the people who do like the Overlook or Fantastic Fest screen everything themselves or do much more juried, but they make sure they're going to watch whatever they're showing.
Right.
So even if a bunch of their screeners say, we love this, they're going to watch it to make sure that we're all not crazy or,
I think
that it fits in with
Gwen
the
said
theme.
that they had like 200 or something like that.
They get tons of submissions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and many more than that in the short films. I mean, they
got to whittle it down to 4 or 5.
Yeah,
that is nuts
for the features.
Yeah, that is nuts.
But this is how the kinds of movies that.
But that's just a little peek behind the curtain,
right,
to show you the love and the passion that goes into these festivals.
Well, and I think it was really important for us to go to these movies this year, or to these festivals, because we're actually getting for advanced screenings on a lot of the stuff before it ends up on Shudder or on streaming. So there were, and I think there are still some movies. I know St. Agatha still hasn't gotten its wide
I know. I want to see that. I missed it at Overlook, and I'm very interested in seeing that because I am a fan of Darren Lynn Bousman.
Yeah, and I think I've been seeing. I've made friends with a few of those folks, and so they're getting ready for their red carpet walk in Beverly Hills or Hollywood to do that. So that's happening, I think, in a couple of months. But
Awesome.
you know,
Grauman's Chinese Theater.
yeah, I mean it's kind of funny actually. That's the place where I think they're going to do it. I think it's.
Are they really?
I think so.
I was being super.
I think that's all
facetious.
Grauman's does is that I think that they
They
run
just do
these,
horror films now.
No, but they do red carpet things, and so you rent it for a night, and that
Grauman's Chinese Horror Theater.
But what was some of the other ones? Hammer of the Gods, Housewife,
Yep.
Prospect,
Yeah.
Tigers Are Not Afraid. These are movies that don't get shown except at festivals
Right.
initially, and until a year later. And so the benefit to us as reviewers,
Right, and the festival really is the precursor to Netflix or Amazon or Vudu or Hulu buying the film.
yeah,
They're using the festival as that mechanism to get it onto one of those streaming services.
it's a networking kind of a thing for
Oh
them.
yeah, absolutely.
And it's kind of funny, actually. If not for going to these things, our names would have not have gotten to Mark Martinez Jordan, who did Framed, who's
Right.
now
That's right.
friend of the podcast.
That's right.
We've
FOP.
yeah, and
FOP.
so thanks to all of the folks from we also got early screeners from Popcorn Frights. Igor over
Yeah.
at Popcorn Frights sent us some stuff. The Buried Alive Film Festival in Atlanta, Justin Harlan,
Yep.
got us some early screeners.
Yep.
And of all the films that I've reviewed this year, the movie that has gotten the most hits is
The Farm.
The Farm.
The Farm.
It is a
Thank you, FarmBot.
well, it's not. The thing was that the reason why it was that Campbell, I think, or was it Robert? Was it Robert or was it you who figured out how to post onto IMDb?
Oh, it's Robert.
Okay, so
Robert, yep.
So Robbie, I know you're listening.
Thanks, Robert. Thanks, FarmBot.
I was one of 4 reviewers for The Farm, and so when there were a whole bunch of people who heard about The Farm and would Google it, and mine was the review that came up because there's like pretty much nobody else.
Right.
And I only gave it 2.5 stars. I thought that the movie was kind of a hot mess, but it was extremely violent and gory, and it's a very unnerving movie. I think it's got truck-sized plot holes in it, but
And if you dig cannibals,
yeah, if you like seeing people treated like cattle, there you go. You're gonna love The Farm.
if Texas Chainsaw was not enough for you,
No, it is very, very Texas Chainsaw, and
you need to go You need to go that extra step.
right. Milk those women. It's like
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
okay.
anyways,
That's too much.
But
Too much.
If not for the film festival, I would
Podcast's
not have
getting
seen that.
Too dark.
Yeah, even for a horror podcast.
Even for a horror podcast.
All right, so that was my number 2 take. I think this is probably this podcast is going to run long because it's number 50. We're milking it.
That's right. All right.
Liz,
Liz, what do you got for your number 2 take?
I am going to say the quality of the horror offerings in 2019. Man, there's so much stuff out there. And while there's still a lot of crap, there is some good stuff. And having like Netflix, Amazon, Shudder especially being devoted to horror, the accessibility of good stuff, new stuff coming out of the festivals, maybe since we have Shudder and Netflix and Amazon to pick stuff up and go straight to streaming and they don't always have to count on a theatrical release, more people are getting to see smaller independent films. And
absolutely,
personally, I think it's awesome. More content. We want it all the time, and now you can have it in the comfort of your own living room.
Yep.
So
10 years ago, you wouldn't have been able to say
there's
this.
some good stuff.
Oh, no.
No, you definitely would have. And I mean, from movies to TV shows to books, just the genre is exploding, getting better and better. I don't know if that's a kind of reaction to the everyday horror we've been living for a little while, where we want
the only way the mind
zombies and
can
vampires
grasp.
to take our mind off it. But whatever it is,
I think Mike and his
that part coming. I love it.
Mike's going to have to write a film for his next film about the horror of being on furlough.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
furlough.
You may never come back. So I totally agree with you there, Liz. I think this is we've had two absolute banger years for horror movies. Three or four straight years of just amazing stuff coming out. Almost to the point where it's kind of hard to keep up with some of this stuff. I know that there's a
absolutely. I mean, between all of the independent releases and then all the studio releases, and then what Liz is referring to, which is a lot of the stuff that just shows up on Shudder, Netflix, Amazon, etc. Yeah, it's a lot. It is a lot to take on. I mean, it's a lot to take on.
Have any of you guys seen Bird Box yet?
I have not seen Bird
Yes.
And give us a hint.
I enjoyed it.
All right.
It's been a huge hit.
Yeah, it's been a huge hit, which is awesome because, I'll always see in the theaters, even if, they're not great except for The Nun. I always try to go see the horror releases so that, I want them to bring in money so that the theaters will show more. And when there's the smaller independent films, if they play around here, like I got to go see in the Apocalypse right before Christmas, I definitely want to go out and give them my money. So I watched Bird Box like the night it came out. I thought it was pretty darn good. I enjoyed the book. I had actually listened to the audiobook. There's some differences, but all in all, I think it's a solid film and something that someone who's not really super into horror could take on. There's definitely horror elements, but I push it more towards the thriller side of horror. But I liked it, and hopefully with the response it's gotten, Netflix will
do more.
Keep pushing some money, big money behind it, because I imagine Sandra Bullock and John Malkovich don't come cheap. So It looked great, and
Bird Box 2
looked great.
Is there room for a Bird Box 2?
More birds.
The burdening.
I hope not.
Right.
Sometimes, and that is maybe one of the problems with Hollywood a lot, is sometimes they don't know when to stop and just leave well enough alone.
Oh, horror is one of the worst at that.
It is really one of the worst.
Bird Box 2 coming to you.
I hope that there is no more Bird Box 2.
You know what's going to be? It's going to be Bird Box versus A Quiet Place mashup. Right?
Yeah, seriously.
No hands. Like no, you can't. You have to cover your eyes.
You can't see and you can't speak.
It's going to be Bird Box versus Cat Box.
And that's when you have to put a clothespin on your nose. Is that the way it works?
Exactly.
You can't smell. You can't see.
Mike, you're on to something. I think you need to
Hollywood, listen up, yo.
That idea.
Listen up.
All right, Campbell, you're number 2.
I will say this is the flip side of the coin that Liz just gave us. It's the early flicks, and so in episodes 22 and 29, we covered sort of the golden age, the early golden age of horror. And I got to go back. I had seen Haxan before. I had not seen Fall of the House of the Usher. I had not seen Dear Gollum. I had not seen Dr. Jekyll, or at least that original.
You've seen Nosferatu, though.
I had seen Nosferatu. And so it was really, really super cool going back and looking at those. And then when we got into the 1950s, sort of the atomic age, Actually, I was more impressed with the early part of the 1950s of the atomic age because I got to watch House of Wax, I got to watch It Came from Outer Space, and I got to watch now one of my all-time favorite movies, The Bad Seed. And I got to see some really, really cool stuff. And it was nice just in that, a lot of these films have obviously been forgotten. They are on the trash heap, the sociological trash heap of
what have you done for me lately?
Of time and space, and people are not watching these films anymore, which is too bad. And I think a lot of these are just like our collective consciousness assumes that we've seen Dracula, assumes that we've seen we've seen Frankenstein, we've seen Dr. Jekyll, and just because the iconography behind a lot of those films is so deep and rich in our sort of cultural tapestry, but But when you go back, you go, well, shit, I never saw that film.
Yeah.
And then you sit down and watch it and you go, wow, this is a really great film. And so it was nice. It was really nice to go back and watch those for a variety of reasons. Obviously, one of the reasons is because all those films clocked in at an hour and 2 minutes.
You can binge a lot of those Universal movies.
You can plow through those like really, really fast. But the other thing was some of those films are just really, really great. And without those films, I mean, there would be no.
It is the foundation for which all this is built upon.
There would be no Bird Box 2.
I echo that completely. I hadn't seen Dracula before.
Right.
I watched it. It was, and you realize, it was a remarkable movie for the time. It's campy now by comparison.
You're talking about the 1931.
31.
Yeah.
You're
not talking about
Bela Lugosi.
You're not talking about Blackula 2.
No, which I also saw for the first time this year.
Scream Blackula, Scream
with the freak out dance party. That was awesome. I would say that Frankenstein, the original Frankenstein, is a wonderful movie.
Yeah.
It is if you haven't seen it, watching Colin Clive, who doesn't get enough love for his role as Dr. Frankenstein, it's always Karloff who gets the love, and he should. But that was a beautiful movie to watch. And another movie that going to the Atomic 50s, which we both love, which Liz just saw for the first time, is
What?
Creature from
the Black Lagoon.
Hell yeah.
So did you finally get you watch that, Liz?
I did. I'll talk a little bit more about it when we get to our grave digging section.
Oh, heck
All
yeah.
right.
Stay tuned.
Heck yeah.
So I'll go with my number 3.
Yes.
In addition to festivals are awesome, short films are awesome.
Heck
Yay.
yeah.
This was something that I was not really aware of, and it's not something that gets pushed very hard through traditional Hollywood review sites. I don't think there's many actually of our peer sites that do this, and I think that this is something that really should be embraced. This is
Oh yeah, absolutely.
particularly this is an offshoot. This is the twin sister of the film festival, because film festivals, particularly the smaller ones like Lovecraft, like Buried Alive, have to bolster up. They're not going to get some of the major feature films because they're expensive to get, and
Right.
and they're going to get bypassed. And so what they will pack 30 or 40 or 60 short films in, and you get these, and some of them you have to gut through, but most of them are just they're these condensed ideas of a horror concept,
Right.
played.
It's the pre-hustle.
Yeah, and
The feature length is the hustle to get you onto Netflix and Amazon. The short film is the pre-hustle to get you some funding to do the feature length.
Yep.
To get you on to Netflix.
And I think there's some
Amazon.
fascinating things that you can see happening. I think at the Lovecraft Film Festival, they showed a film called Zygote.
Yeah, which is exceptional, and you can check out Zygote at scariestthings.com website.
Yeah.
1T.
1T.
And it is absolutely brilliant.
And
in fact, this is what I will say. This is how hard I will plug Zygote. I sat down and showed my 15-year-old son Alien, and he went, meh. And I showed him Zygote back to back, and he went, yeah, Zygotes, that's the stuff. That's cool. Alien,
All right.
Alien,
Come on, Ernie. Well, I think what Zygote is showing, it's Neil Blomkamp.
Right.
And this is kind of like, it feels like a major league player going down to AAA to play a little, to show the kids how it's done.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't want to denigrate anybody who makes short films because they are so passionate about what they do. But Blomkamp's bringing big budget things to a short format, which is really interesting, and he's doing a lot of them. So if you go to his, I think it's Oats is the name of his.
If you type in like Oats Studios into YouTube, you will get their site.
Yeah. But I think I'd be remiss if I didn't actually do a couple of shout outs to some of the folks who've helped us out, or not really helped us out, but we've stayed in contact. And so Al Loeffler, who did The Doll Maker,
yes,
which we saw at the Portland Horror Film Festival, which was my favorite short film from there.
Great little
real
film.
Crisp.
Is that available online? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think we've got that posted as well. We Summoned a Demon.
Yep.
Funny.
Yes.
Super duper funny.
And Chris McEnroy, if you're listening, can't wait to see your werewolf movie. But here's another guy who you
is that coming out in 2019?
All right.
Is it? No,
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's 2020.
2020.
I think they're still talking about it. But it's
okay.
The cool thing about these short films is you go to the festivals and you can meet the directors. They love talking to you because they're passion projects.
Right.
And they're not. They're just like us. They're the little guys.
Yep.
And so that's what they're going through. So. Support your film festivals, support your short films. We will try and post as many of them as they come online. The tricky thing is that it's hard sometimes because they have to work the circuit several times over because they get that's how they get the exposure, and then they post it to Vimeo or YouTube or something like that.
Right. All right, Liz, what do you got next on number 2 on the Fearsome Foursome list?
This one's kind of piggybacking a little bit off of what Eric said about talking about getting early releases and things like that, but I have now been getting advanced review copies of horror books, and if you're a reader, this is like your dream.
Gold mine.
Powerball.
It is a gold mine. Getting to read the hot new thing early is insane, and having someone send it to you saying, like, do you want to read this and review it is mind-blowing.
Right.
They're stacking up pretty fast, and I am trying to read them as quickly as I can. My job keeps getting in the way of my fun horror activities, but
boo work.
Man, I know.
Need a furlough.
I need a furlough.
The furlough.
But it's been really cool for me and pretty darn exciting every time I get an email with one in there, especially when they're good books. So it's awesome.
I totally agree with you, Liz. It's amazing to me is like the fact that people are throwing stuff at us going, hey, would you take a look at my project, please?
Like, you want this?
And I'm like, are you sure you want me to take a look at your project?
Yeah.
I can think of very few genres or very few mediums where there's that kind of trust, right? Yep. That people would like. I would think in I don't know, like the comic book industry, the gaming industry, video games, music. They wouldn't just like throw anything to anyone and go, "Hey, Joe Blow, could you take a look at my project?"
Yeah, fear of plagiarism.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. Now you can have a copy, and
right. So
I just hope you won't give it away.
Right.
Yeah. So there is an amazing built-in trust to that relationship, which is super cool.
And we'll get something like Danny Gosser.
Danny Gosser. Yes.
Hey, Danny.
What up?
So who's trying to produce a movie called Immortal Macabre? Who you can sort of, if you go back into the annals of our podcasts, you can find our interview with him.
Yep.
But that's, we'll get these out of the blue requests. It's like, hey, I'm doing a movie in Portland. Mm-hmm. Right on.
Yep.
Bring it to us. So
keep on keeping on.
This is sort of an open invitation to all of you authors and producers who would like us to take a look at your stuff. We're not going to guarantee that we're going to like it. I mean, we've had some times where we'll have a review in the can ready, or we will review it. Robert, I think, has been the best at this.
Yeah.
And then we'll go back and it's like, okay, based on this review, do you want to do an interview? And then sometimes they'll go, no. But sometimes they go, oh yeah, absolutely. And that was Mark Martinez Jordan.
Right.
So.
Yep. All right. My number 2 on the Fearsome Foursome list was the Top 100 Project.
Hey!
And just how enjoyable, but more importantly, how deep it really went. With this, if you have been following the podcast, we covered the Top 100 in episodes 33 to 42. But obviously, much like when you're curating a horror film festival, we had to curate. Eric largely curated how many? What was the total number? 320.
Yeah, somewhere's around. I think it was 308 after all was said and done.
308. Okay, 308 horror films. Yeah, which was amazing because there was a lot of stuff that didn't make it, like The Conjuring didn't make it,
Yeah.
Friday the 13th didn't make it. Some
big hitters.
And I honestly thought when we started into the project, I was a little bit leery in that I thought, okay, well, it's going to be
Same old.
Exorcist, Psycho, Halloween, Shining, da 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 da. But it wasn't.
Yeah.
There was some real surprises, and I guess what really surprised me was, when you cast the net that wide and you bring in a lot of folks, and you bring in a lot of, folks who have been really both professionally and personally invested in the horror genre, you see a lot of really interesting things start to happen.
Yep.
And just the breadth of films out there was incredible to me. And obviously, I mean, it should go without saying that, I got to see a lot of stuff that I hadn't otherwise ever seen or would never have thought to have seen. Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Have you seen Goodnight Mommy yet?
Goodnight Mommy, Jane Doe. I mean, there was a ton of stuff that it just completely passed me by, but the fact that I had to sit down and watch those was really, really enjoyable.
Yeah, we'd have to binge a lot of stuff just before we do our recording because, have you ever seen Santa Sangra?
Right.
No. Although I think we still owe Liz a movie.
Yeah,
I know. Neither of you have seen Martyrs yet.
I know.
Add that to the 2019 movie resolution right after Carrie.
Yes.
Okay, although that's one that Mike has to sit there and cut it out with me.
Oh, I'll watch Carrie again.
No, I didn't hear you say that you're going to do Martyrs.
I will watch Carrie again. I will watch.
I'm going to have to come up there, make you guys watch it.
All right, Eric, what is number one on your Fearsome Foursome list?
We actually had a collision there because I was going to go with the top 100, but you know what? I'm always prepared.
Keep on talking top 100.
So I'm actually, I think, as sort of an adjunct to this is my fascination with the Oscars.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And what I think last year
and
at this
Hollywood's
time,
disdain for horror.
Yeah, but it's they're slowly warming up. I don't think we're ever going to get completely free of the kids' table.
Right.
I think hooray for Jordan Peele.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And hooray for Guillermo del Toro for last year. Now, Shape of Water. It's kind of like, all right, it's a cousin to horror, but it's got a monster in it, and then it's also got a fish man in it.
Right.
So that's
and Jordan Peele's got a new movie coming out in
Us.
April. I think
coming
April.
up soon. March maybe. I think it's coming up real soon.
Maybe March. Yeah.
It looks cool.
It looks really cool.
Super duper cool.
I think I'm really pulling for Toni Collette to get an Oscar this year. I think she deserves it. She's won a whole bunch of awards already. And I've done, but last year I did an analysis of every Oscar-nominated horror movie.
Ever.
And actor and actress and makeup artist and everything. And I think it
is an exceptional deep dive, but it is a very, very, you will be a very, very informed, not just horror fan, but you will be a very
Hollywood lore.
Yeah, it is Hollywood lore. Eric took the super deep dive. It is a very impressive and evergreen analysis of Hollywood and horror.
And I followed that up with snubs.
You're right.
Where I say, all right, so these are movies that should have gotten an Oscar. It's like how does I thought Dario Argento really should have gotten an Oscar nomination for the art direction that was done for Suspiria. And then there's I don't think Mia Farrow got nominated for Rosemary's Baby.
Right.
There are some things where it's like how do you let these things not happen? But now, I think I've taken it upon myself to say, all right, if you can't beat them, just beat them harder, right? You go out you go out with. I just posted the inaugural Thingy Award.
Yes,
as in Scariest Thingies. And what I've done is tried to marry up fairly closely to what the Oscars have. Best actor, best actress. Best studio feature film, best indie feature film, best horror short, best foreign film, the best looking award. And I'm thinking I kind of want to have a nickname for it. And I'm thinking maybe like the Barbara Steele Award or something like that. What's the best looking thing in a horror movie? And then there's like I have the best sounding award, and maybe that's the Vincent Price Award, because who sounds better than Vincent Price? I have the Bloodbath Award, which goes to the best use of gore and sleaze in a movie.
Toby Hooper Award.
Or Romero maybe. Toby Hooper would be I think would be more appropriate.
The Tom Savini Award.
Got a Gateway Award, best for kids and newbies.
That would be the Spielberg Award.
Spielberg, yeah. The Depends Award, the Whoops I Crap My Pants Award. You need adult diapers to deal with with the worst horror movie of 2018, because I'm not above shaming.
That would be the Lloyd Kaufman Award.
Yes. And because I think we've also talked about this in the past, when we talked about the tropes, trope talk, which we'll probably get into do trope talk again.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But horror movies are made up of moments and tropes, and I think I think the most important award of all of these things is the best horror moment. And so, what I would also suggest is, if you want to actually participate and actually have a say, join us on our Patreon campaign, and for about the cost of a bus ticket a month, about $2.50 per month, you can get in and participate in the voting for the thingies.
You can be part of a movement.
One of us. One of us.
You can be part of a movement for real, forever.
Yes.
Forever.
In perpetuity. We'll never let you go.
This may end up in the Library of Congress. this podcast could very well be in the Library of Congress. If you're listening, we would love for you to ingest the Scariest Things podcast into the Library of Congress annals of history.
Well, I think it was kind of funny, actually. Al Loeffler, who I informed anybody who we were in contact with, it's like, hey, I just wanted to let you guys let you know that we nominated The Doll Maker for best short film, and he goes out and he's taken up the stump for us, and so it's like,
yeah, absolutely,
right, it's the community of friends that's horror movie stuff.
That's right.
So
all right,
so that's my top one. What have you got, Liz?
I am going to take one of yours, Eric, and I'm putting festivals at my top one.
Heck yeah!
I got to attend 3 festivals this year. One of them, I guess, is horror adjacent in the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival.
I'm calling it horror
and weird stuff. I also got to do the Overlook and the New Orleans Horror Film Festival, which I think was in its 9th year this year. Mm-hmm. Man, you get to meet so many great people. I saw a ton of short films at H.P. Lovecraft and at the New Orleans Horror Film Festival. That festival had like 6 blocks of shorts, some fantastic ones. Wow. Just hanging out with people that like horror.
It's where we met.
Yeah, it is. Hanging out with filmmakers, directors. Stars will talk to you. Barbara Crampton and Udo Kier were at the Overlook, and
I met him
sitting behind me in a panel, and just, hey, I love your movies. Oh, thanks. So, are you from? They're talking to you like it's totally normal, and I think they really like it. Not as you would get some celebrities thinking they might be a little standoffish, but man, the festivals are super fun, and looking forward to doing more of them in 2019. But that's been my favorite thing this year.
Yeah, we'll see you in May.
Yes.
Coming down for Overlook.
The Overlook's going to be back in New Orleans. So.
It would be awesome if Udo Kier's down there, because you haven't lived until you've had story time with Udo Kier.
Yep.
That man, it was, just sitting in a bar writing, and he comes up and he sits down and just wants to tell you stories. It was like, oh my God, this is so cool.
Yeah, that doesn't probably happen, at some other kind of festivals, or I don't think you go to, Sundance and just get everybody so approachable. The horror film festivals are just, everybody's hanging out and everybody's at the parties and everybody wants to talk about it because it's something that the actors love, and everybody who's there loves the genre. It's a really good community, and it's kind of a small community because you meet people who like, oh, you know this person? Oh my gosh, I know them. And they hook you up with friends who have films or books or, are working on blogs or anything like that. So everybody's helping each other, and I don't feel like anybody's, holding anybody back. Everybody's trying to uplift everybody else and share something that we all love. So I think it was awesome going to the festivals this year.
And this time out, you can actually sort of say you're kind of quasi press. I am.
Yeah.
It's like you just.
I'm doing it.
I'm Eric Lee. Scariest things.
There's no quasi.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
There's no quasi.
We're press.
We're press.
Even if they didn't give us press.
It's a small
passes.
press, but it's press.
So that's that has been. Yeah, we can't. I am looking forward to all the festivals this year, and I'm going to have to actually start drawing a bigger map and saying what do I want to attend, because we'll be for those of you sort of in the New Orleans area. We're coming your way.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Look out, Overlook.
Michael, what do you got?
I'm going to go for my favorite moment of 2018, reflecting on the past year of podcasting. It was the opportunity to sit down, and there's two scenes in The Haunting, 1963. The opening sequence to The Haunting, where they tell the story of how the house is haunted. I think it's about a 3-minute.
Yeah.
I think it's about a 3-minute credit sequence that is so terrifying and sets this just absolutely chilling context for the film that you're about to watch. That, interestingly, doesn't give the impression that maybe there's a little bit of later on in the film,
madness.
They throw into the mix the idea that there could be that this could be sort of self-involved madness, but you get the sense in watching the opening credits that there is definitely the house is definitely haunted, and then the jump scare where Eleanor sees Grace towards the end of the film is, I think it's one of the best jump scares maybe ever, and I think it's one of maybe the first really, really effective jump scares. I mean, there was jump scares before that. There was jump scares in the 1930s and 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
That was 50s, yeah. 1930s, 40s.
The Haunting's 1963.
Oh, yeah, that's right, 63.
I'm getting better at these the movie release dates, by the way. It's just one of those kinds of things that you sort of anchor yourself in here.
Haunting of Hell House, Haunting. Yeah. Anyway, those two scenes, it was just an absolute delight. I had never seen that film before, and it was an absolute delight to watch that film and be legitimately frightened, jump out of my seat frightened by a film from 1963 on two accounts.
Yeah, and it wasn't gory, but it is the gold standard for all ghost movies.
It's not gory at all, but I thought to myself, hey, it was just a wonderful reminder about the fact that this is why I watch horror movies. Mm-hmm. It's that excitement, it's that titillation, it's the fact that you jump out of your seat. You get legitimately scared. You walk up the stairs looking behind you to make sure that nothing is following you up the stairs.
Well, try this house on for size when it comes to haunted house kind of stuff, because it's like I think Liz, if you remember sort of the rough layout of the house, it's an old Dutch colonial. It looks kind of like a junior varsity version of the Amityville house.
It is. It's a tiny Amityville house.
It's creaks and things that go bump in the night,
and that's not always my dog.
Right.
So,
all right.
So I think I burned up my grave digging by talking about the Thingy Awards, but
yes.
I think
Liz.
I have a quick one. So,
yes.
Just some awesome upcoming things that will be on the podcast and on the blog. I have got 2 author interviews that we're recording in the next couple of weeks. One with Max Booth III, who is the author of Carnivorous Lunar Activities, which is going to be the latest release from Fangoria's new publishing imprint. It is a werewolf bromance, and it's hilarious. Little horror comedy. Never hurt anybody. and
it's a short book, isn't it?
It's short. It's about 150 pages, so an easy read. You're not slogging through 400 pages like some books. This one is
word economy.
Quick, funny, and it's pressing all my buttons right now. I'm literally cracking up while I'm reading it. So I'm really excited to talk to Max.
All right.
And then the second one I'm super excited of is with Mallory O'Meara, who is the author of The Lady from the Black Lagoon, which is a nonfiction book about Millicent Patrick, who is the actual designer of the creature from the Black Lagoon. And she was taken off the credits, by the men in Hollywood. So it's a very of the zeitgeist book, and Mallory O'Meara is in the horror industry as a producer and filmmaker. So I'm super excited to talk to her about this.
I'm really
and that's why I got
interested
to
in
see
that
the creature from the Black Lagoon. Yeah,
I really want to read that one. That
it's
sounds
really good
so
and very interesting.
And
so
her story, I think, because she's a beauty too. I mean, that was the thing was that they early on that they would try and get audiences to the theaters by having her come up and draw pictures of the creature or something like that, didn't they?
Yeah, she went on even a press tour for it, but the guy who was head makeup
Jealousy.
was very jealous and insecure, and kind of ended up blacklisting her from Hollywood, and that was the last thing that she had worked on. So her life is really fascinating, and the way Mallory wrote the book is a mix of biography and autobiography. So it's really cool. She's super talented writer, and I am very excited to talk to her. And she also happens to be friends with Gwen Callahan, so another
circle of life,
small world of the horror genre. So it's going to be awesome.
All the dots are connected.
Yes. So, and I got to watch Creature from the Black Lagoon for the first time, and I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, mostly for the creature, So I don't know if still those Golden Age monster movies are going to be at the top of my list, but I'll give them more of a chance now.
You gotta love the creature doing the shadowing and doing the backstroke while
that was amazing.
At the surface.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that was great, and the fact that she packed up 7 outfits for a day trip down the Amazon to the lagoon. I did love that.
So Mike, do you have any grave digging?
I'm going to go grave digging very, very quickly. If you go to the scariestthings.com website, you will see just a couple days ago we posted a new trailer for a film called The Golem. This, of course, is not the 1915 classic Der Golem or the 1917 film The Golem and the Dancing Girl, or even the 1920 film
The Golem and the Dancing Girl.
Yes, that's the one that they're missing all the footage from, or the 1920 film The Golem, How He Came into the World. This, of course, is I think it's a reimagination of the original Golem film, obviously involving a tight-knit Jewish community using the golem to protect themselves from outside invaders. It's interesting because I think this was one of the ones we didn't talk about it in that early episode where we were talking about properties that Hollywood needs to get on onto. But we did talk about it later on when we talked about Der Golem as a film that would be an interesting film to be remade, and shaboom, it's being remade. This of course is being produced by a gentleman by the name of Ariel Cohen, and it was
so we do get a Jewish director then.
I believe so. The Paz brothers. I don't know who the Paz brothers are, but they're the ones that are responsible for this. This is coming out on February 1st of 2019, thanks to the folks at Dread Central. This is their own imprint.
Oh wow!
This is a film that they've put together. So that's really, really cool. The trailer I think actually looks pretty solid. And I will say this might be a little bit of a stretch, and I might regret actually saying this, but the trailer looks and feels an awful lot like the trailer from The Witch from a couple years ago.
Oh.
So that's a high.
That's a high bar. Yeah. High bar. So we'll check back with you all in February and tell you if Der Golem is really all that in a bag of mud.
Clay. All right, everybody. So, Mike, do you have a?
I do
closing?
not. I do not
you know
have
what?
a close.
So what we're going to have to do is in place of the closing trailer stinger, we're going to suggest that our patrons
yes
submit to us a recording of the stinger, and we will plug it in at the end, and you can do a little quick intro about yourself and what your favorite horror movie is, and then read us a tagline in your best Vincent Price, or I don't know who's the best female horror vocals out there.
Oh boy.
Oh, I don't know. You just got to do a really good scream
Kathy
for the
Bates.
scream queen.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, just and it with a final girl scream. That'd be great. So, anyways,
Beat that one.
That's pretty much a wrap for the 2018 on to 2019.
Thanks to everyone.
Yes, and thanks to everybody for
Fans,
waiting 3.5
listeners,
weeks.
Participants, and everyone else.
Yeah, this has been a fantastic year, and we love doing it. Bye bye.